After entering the WNBA with sky-high expectations and constant media attention, Caitlin Clark has somehow managed to exceed every prediction and shatter every record placed before her. She has completely redefined what it means to be a rookie, rewriting the record books, transforming a struggling franchise into a playoff contender, and making women's basketball a cultural phenomenon across generations, all in just a few short months. It's nearly impossible to find another athlete in any sport who has made such an immediate and far-reaching impact. Many are now realizing they're witnessing greatness unfold in real time. From veteran basketball analysts and sports journalists to influencers and even online skeptics who once doubted her magic. Among those taking notice is none other than Shaquille O'Neal, the Big Diesel himself, one of the biggest names in basketball history. Since retiring, Shaq has remained a dominant voice on the hit show Inside the NBA, known for his humor, honesty, and bold opinions about players. By his own admission, he became deeply invested in women's basketball because of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, closely following their fierce college rivalry. Being an LSU alumnus like Reese, it was only natural for him to back his fellow Tiger star in their early matchups. Ever since that unforgettable NCAA Finals clash in 2023, Shaq has consistently praised Angel as an extraordinary talent. At one point, he even went as far as to call her the greatest player ever to come out of LSU, ranking her above legends like himself and Pistol Pete Maravich. Coming from a man with 4 NBA championship rings and an MVP award, that's an enormous compliment. And even Angel Reese admitted she was a bit stunned by his words.
Yeah, Shaq told me that I was the best player to come out of LSU. It puts a lot of pressure on me, and I feel like I haven't done anything.
Shaq once told me I was the best player ever to come out of LSU. And honestly, that kind of praise brings a lot of pressure. I still feel like I haven't accomplished enough to deserve it. However, Angel Reese did something neither Shaq nor Pistol Pete Maravich managed during their college careers. She won an NCAA championship. That incredible achievement earned her major recognition and rewards. Thanks to the new NIL rules, she was able to secure a massive shoe deal before her final college season. But unlike many top athletes who sign with Nike or Adidas, Reese decided to follow in the footsteps of another LSU legend, Shaquille O'Neal himself. She signed with Reebok, a brand looking to reclaim its former glory, and now led by Shaq as the president of basketball operations. The deal generated massive buzz, not only because of its size, but also because it publicly solidified the growing mentor-mentee bond between O'Neal and Reese. Since then, Shaq has acted as an unofficial mentor, offering Angel guidance on basketball, professionalism, and the challenges that come with fame. He's always been open about his admiration for Reese, long before she turned professional, and never shied away from supporting her journey. When asked about his involvement, Shaq explained that he simply wants to pass along the wisdom and lessons he's learned, to help the next generation of LSU stars succeed even more than he did.
So I was just, telling her how to handle adversity, how to handle, controversy. And, with a person like her, you don't really want to come and say, do this and do that. I was just coming and, giving her encouraging words, just telling her, to hang in there.
It's still unclear how close Shaquille O'Neal's relationship with Angel Reese really is, or how often they've stayed in touch since she joined the WNBA. But one thing is certain, Shaq has never hidden the fact that he's firmly in her corner. To his credit, he's always remained professional in his public comments, often praising the overall growth and rising popularity of women's basketball. Still, even before this WNBA season began, Shaq openly declared his loyalty to Reese and was considered one of her strongest backers, especially with his financial and professional ties through Reebok. The legendary center was frequently spotted courtside at Chicago Sky games, cheering for Reese and noting how much the women's game has evolved in recent years. That's why his latest remarks caught many by surprise. After the recent matchup between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, which ended in a dominant Indiana Fever victory, Shaq finally admitted what many already suspected. Caitlin Clark is the player to watch. His words carried honesty and humility as he confessed, I never really spoke about her because Angel is my girl, but I can truthfully say Caitlin Clark is for real. I watch her play and try to be upset, but she just keeps making the right passes, the right plays. Players try to rough her up, and she never complains. She's the real deal, much respect to her and her family. Coming from a man who spent nearly 2 decades battling legends like Penny Hardaway, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James, that kind of praise holds serious weight. Despite his deep LSU loyalty and connection to Reese, Shaq's acknowledgement of Caitlin Clark's greatness highlights just how unstoppable she has become. This shift might mark a major turning point in how the media and basketball world view Clark. If even Shaq, with his Reebok business ties and LSU allegiance, can't deny her impact, it's hard to imagine anyone else downplaying her dominance. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring attention to the WNBA, she revolutionized it. She made NCAA women's basketball a cultural phenomenon, and her massive fan base has followed her seamlessly into the pros. The only question left was how fast she could adapt, and the answer came almost instantly. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just hype, it's measurable. Every one of the 12 most-watched WNBA games of 2024 featured the Indiana Fever, drawing between 1.2 and 2.3 million viewers each, rivaling average NBA numbers. The All-Star Game, boosted by her presence, hit a staggering 3.4 million viewers, the highest since 1997. Attendance skyrocketed too, with Fever home games averaging nearly 17,700 fans per night compared to just over 4,000 the previous year. That surge equals millions in new revenue for both the team and the league. Shaquille O'Neal, ever the savvy businessman, surely recognizes the financial magnitude of this shift. Beyond being one of the greatest centers in NBA history and a beloved media personality, Shaq is also a sharp investor constantly seeking the next big opportunity. He knows the value of aligning with generational talents, and Caitlin Clark, by every measure, fits that category perfectly.
I wanted to start a business. The way I learned business was a gentleman gave me a book, The Dummy's Guide to Starting Your Own Business. When I was reading it, wasn't familiar with anything, but it was a chapter that really piqued my interest, joint ventureships.
Right now, it's definitely not a good time to be a Caitlin Clark hater. She's playing at an almost MVP level, single-handedly lifting a once-struggling franchise into playoff contention and transforming it into one of the league's biggest financial successes. Standing head and shoulders above her rookie class, Caitlin has become the undeniable leader of the Indiana Fever, a team that's finally finding its rhythm around her brilliance. This incredible rise has silenced many early critics who doubted whether her college dominance would translate to the pros or who preferred Angel Reese over her. Most of those voices have gone quiet, occasionally reappearing only to retract their earlier comments. At this point, speaking negatively about Caitlin Clark is like denying reality, and it's guaranteed to bring a storm of backlash online. The mainstream sports media, once divided, is now coming together in agreement. Caitlin Clark has not only met the massive expectations placed on her, but has surpassed them entirely. Apart from a handful of stubborn detractors, nearly everyone recognizes that a new face now represents the WNBA, and she looks nothing like the traditional archetype of a women's basketball player. After years of dominating college basketball, Caitlin has ascended to a new level, capturing the undivided attention of the nation. Women's basketball, once an afterthought in TV programming, has now become primetime entertainment. So much so that major networks and even other sports leagues are watching the schedule carefully to avoid competing with her games. One of the clearest examples came in early September, when the first ever NFL game in Brazil coincided with an Indiana Fever matchup. To everyone's surprise, several high-profile sports personalities declared that Caitlin's game was the real must-watch event. Dave Portnoy, founder of Barstool Sports, even mocked those who chose the NFL over Caitlin Clark, saying, "Honestly, only a fool would watch the NFL instead of the Indiana Fever right now. What Caitlin does out there It's poetry in motion, it's art, it's beauty. His passionate comments quickly went viral, and he backed them up with action, placing a $100,000 bet on the Fever to win the 2024 WNBA championship, despite the team not having made the playoffs in years. That level of public faith from a major sports media figure is extraordinary and could introduce Caitlin to an even broader audience. To put things in perspective, 51% of Americans identify as NFL fans, and in 2022, 88 of the 100 most watched U.S. television broadcasts were NFL games. If even a small fraction of that audience starts following Caitlin, her influence could grow to unprecedented heights. This raises an important question. Has Caitlin Clark finally earned the respect of mainstream sports media? It might be too soon for a definitive answer. One playoff stumble could invite old skeptics back. But for now, some of the biggest voices in sports journalism have rallied behind her, declaring Caitlin the future of the WNBA. Among them is Stephen A. Smith, one of the most respected and influential figures in sports commentary. Known for his fiery takes and deep basketball insight, Stephen A. has covered every era of the game, and even he has joined the growing consensus. While usually outspoken and controversial, Smith was calm and deliberate when discussing Caitlin, listing all the reasons why she's a generational talent deserving of universal admiration. His endorsement may mark the final step in Caitlin Clark's rise to the top of the sports world, solidifying her as not just the face of the WNBA, but one of the most important athletes of her generation.
She's leading the league in assists. Since July 10th, she's the second leading scorer in the NBA behind Asia Wilson, averaging 23.8 points per game.
She has become the first rookie in WNBA history to achieve multiple triple-doubles in a single season. And her team, the Indiana Fever, is on track to reach the playoffs. They're not just competing, they're winning. Caitlin Clark is a rare talent, clearly the frontrunner for Rookie of the Year, and even considered a top 3 or top 4 MVP candidate across the entire league. What she's accomplishing is extraordinary, and she deserves every ounce of credit for it. Many people connected with the WNBA owe her a debt of gratitude for the massive boost she's given the sport's visibility and value. Everything Stephen A. Smith said about her was nothing but fact. There's simply no debating what Clark has been doing on the court, especially in the past 2 months. But Stephen A. went beyond stats, pointing out how Caitlin has elevated the WNBA's business side, helping everyone from teams to broadcasters earn more. Everything she touches seems to turn to gold, and she does it without constantly promoting her brand or chasing attention. That's why media personalities should be celebrating her success instead of holding back. Charles Barkley, never one to sugarcoat his opinions, has also spoken up. The legendary NBA power forward, who co-hosts Inside the NBA with Shaquille O'Neal, has made it clear that he's fed up with the unfair criticism Clark has faced all year. He called out the media for disrespecting her, saying, "People believe what we say on television, and just because someone doesn't like you, they can't go on air and slander you." Barkley praised Caitlin as an incredible player whose impact on both college and professional basketball is undeniable. Unlike many commentators, he understands how constant negativity can harm a player's public image and even their earnings. While Barkley may not be as polished a speaker as Stephen A., his message is the same. It's time to stop the nonsense and give Caitlin Clark her flowers. As an insider, Barkley knows how media narratives shape athletes' careers, and his defense of Clark carries real weight. Now that legends like Shaq and Barkley are publicly supporting her, Caitlin's influence is spreading even faster. The WNBA has seen a dramatic surge in popularity since her arrival, with viewership and attendance skyrocketing. Once seen as the NBA's little sister, the league is now outperforming its parent organization on NBA TV. The most watched game on the network this past year wasn't an NBA matchup. It was Caitlin Clark's Fever versus the Wings on September 1st, surpassing even a Warriors versus Cavs broadcast. This surge has opened doors for massive growth. The WNBA now has a golden opportunity to reinvest its profits into better infrastructure, higher salaries, and expanded schedules, all sparked by Clark's impact. Fans are clearly hungry for more women's basketball, and the only question is how the league will keep up with the skyrocketing demand. Expanding schedules, increasing team numbers, and improving overall league quality. All of it is being driven largely by Caitlin Clark's brilliance. Yet, the ripple effects go far beyond her individual success. Every player, whether already in the WNBA or preparing to enter it, stands to benefit from the surge of popularity and financial growth she's generating. If the WNBA truly wants to emulate the NBA's business success, it needs a global superstar who combines magnetic charisma with elite, once-in-a-generation basketball talent. Caitlin Clark fits that mold perfectly. Her influence has already transformed the league, and the next step is clear: global expansion. Clark's international pull is already visible. Fans from around the world are traveling thousands of miles just to see her play live. One Australian fan proudly held up a sign at a Fever game, celebrating her journey to witness Caitlin's magic firsthand. That's just one example of what's becoming a global phenomenon. As her legend continues to grow, the WNBA's reach will expand right along with it. With international attention comes lucrative TV deals and sponsorships from wealthy markets, potentially placing the league in financial competition with Europe's top basketball organizations. The Caitlin Clark effect is so powerful that such global breakthroughs seem inevitable, and sooner rather than later. With deeper financial resources, the WNBA will be able to invest in better facilities, higher player salaries, and improved training programs, while attracting and retaining elite talent worldwide. If things continue on this trajectory, the WNBA could soon become one of the NBA's most valuable assets, a far cry from being seen as its little sister. While women's basketball might not yet rival the men's game in global revenue, the gap between them is shrinking fast, thanks to Caitlin Clark's unstoppable rise. Even figures like Shaquille O'Neal and Dave Portnoy, who were initially slow to recognize her impact, are now fully on board. Their recent praise proves that those who believed in Caitlin early on were right all along. Her diehard fans, once mocked for claiming she could compete with anyone in the WNBA, are now being vindicated as the world catches up to what they already knew. Watching the mainstream media finally celebrate Clark must feel like a well-earned victory for those who supported her through the early skepticism and criticism. So, if you were one of the people who believed 6 months ago that Caitlin Clark was the best prospect ever to wear a WNBA jersey, you're looking incredibly smart right now. And this is only the beginning. Imagine what happens if the Fever make a deep playoff run. Caitlin's newfound playoff experience will only strengthen her championship mindset. Dave Portnoy's 2024 championship bet might have been premature, but next year could easily prove him right. One thing certain, Caitlin Clark won't have to wait long before lifting the ultimate trophy. And when she does, her loyal fans will experience the ultimate reward, seeing their hero crowned at the very top of the basketball world. That moment is coming, and it's going to be worth every second of the wait.